Year.
Yeah. Ball drops.
So I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask our secretary to please call the roll of the commission.
Commissioner Wall,
Present.
Commissioner Sovereign,
Here.
Commissioner Peak,
Present.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Wachowski,
Here.
Chair O'Neill,
Here.
and Commissioner Castagna is not present at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're authorized to switch our agenda so that we can have the artwork first, and then we'll go back to the other business, which may not be as exciting to our guests as the first item will be. So Inga, would you like to introduce this item for us, please?
Sure. So you have before you a recommendation from the Public Arts Subcommittee. We received a proposal for a sculpture installation that would be a tribute to Mike Morata Sr. And the subcommittee is recommending that the full commission approve, but prior to a discussion of it, we wanted to welcome some special guests. So these are members of the Mike Morata Sr. Sculptural Tribute Citizens Group, and as well as the artist, Stephen White. And so we would like them to give a presentation about what their concept is and tell us about what they're proposing. And so we should introduce them maybe.
Mr. Chair, I'm David Armanosco, and among the committee members before you today are Chris Shake, and as I refer to him, the alcalde of Monterey, Dan Albert, and Stephen White, an internationally known and admired sculptor. So should I begin?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Both Chris Shake is also going to speak, and so will Mayor Albert, and Stephen White is available to answer any questions as well. But so this idea was envisioned principally by Chris Shake, and Chris gave me a call one day and said, you know, what do you think about this? And I said, I think that is just perfect. So we have moved rather quickly, informing our committee and meeting, thankfully, with Inga, and with city manager Hans Uslar at the location, which would be at the corner of Franklin and Alvarado in front of the Plume's coffee shop. That was to define the location and find out if this was something that we could pursue through this process. But prior to that, as our committee formed, we came up with a fundraising plan that we were going to execute before COVID started. And so we were delayed a bit, but then we reached out to Penny Kanalakis, who is the niece of Kent Mitchell, who many of you may have known. Kent was a terrific citizen here in Monterey, and also a great compadre to Mike Morata Sr. And Penny is the trustee of the Kent Mitchell Foundation. And as we were beginning our campaign to raise funds, we approached Penny to let her know what we were doing. And soon after that, we were told that the Kent Mitchell Foundation was going to pay for the entire installation and cost of the sculpture, etc. So we felt very, very fortunate, but in a way, that's just a terrific tribute, because those who knew both men can tell you that they were as fast of friends as they could be. And as you all know, Mike Morata is an icon to downtown Monterey and even beyond. His music has been enjoyed by all of us at various times in our lives. I can tell you that as a Santa Catalina dad, that I found out one year from Mike that he had done the father-daughter weekend 55 years in a row. So pretty amazing, let alone all the other things that he has done all around this peninsula. So we've defined the location. We have raised the funds. We have a design that has been completed by Stephen White. And so we just want to be able to move forward in this process with you. And I think I'm going to let Chris take it from here, and then Mayor Dan will follow him.
Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to be here today. When Mr. Morata passed away in November of 2019, it was a very sad day for me personally. He was one of the most iconic and colorful persons I have ever met. He touched the lives of millions of people around the world, bringing life and happiness to us through his music and generosity. He gives, and just gives. When I think of people who have made an impact on Monterey's history, like John Steinbeck and Don Ricketts, Mr. Morata is right there with them. A man who dedicated his life to giving us music, mentorship, and compassion when he needed it, when we needed it, but most important, he gave us his hand with giving back. Monterey is Mr. Morata, Alvarado Street is Mr. Morata, and that is why we need to see his likes in a form of a tribute statue to keep our memories of Mr. Morata alive. And I thank you for your consideration and of course your support today to see this project through. Thank you.
Albert?
Yes. There's a lot of stories that can be told about Mike, and I hope I'm going to tell some of them. And it's just a background of some personal things that Mike would contribute to this great city and also to the Monterey Peninsula. When I was the mayor, I went down to talk to Mike, and basically I wasn't the mayor that long, but I wanted to talk to the mayor of Alvarado Street, and so he could give us some history. And so as he was talking, and I was concerned about there was some changes that were coming about, and basically this was his quote. He said, "Alvarado Street has always been evolving and will continue to evolve." And he says, "Mayor, don't worry about it." And so you have to know, Mike, that's exactly what he said. And the interesting thing is where this statue is going to be placed is right across the street from the State Theater. Found out that in Mike's earlier time, a kid time, that he performed on that stage with his dad. And so I thought, gee, and then as time moved on, his dad owned a bar on the corner of Alvarado and Franklin. It was called the Cinnabar. And so as Mike grew older, he was doing other things, but also he was playing that accordion, and he was playing that accordion in the Cinnabar. One night, what happened when he was playing, there was a gentleman by the name of Jake Stock walked in. I don't know how of you know Jake, but he's part of well, anyway, Jake walked in and he just got off the train. I don't know if it was a regular train or a freight train or what it was, but he sat down. Mike happened to be there that night. And so Jake had an instrument and had a few drinks, took out the instrument and started to play. And then Mike joined right in with him. And then what happened there was Jake Stock then had his abalone stompers, and Mike became a part of that. Something else about Mike and his accordion is that, it doesn't fit in quite with jazz, but it is. And what happened that I thought was very interesting, that the Dixieland Jazz Festival, they honored him one night, and he was going to be the feature player, and that place was packed. And so he joined those Dixieland band. And let me tell you, his personality and so on, he just took over the place. And I can go on and on with stories, but I think I'd like to finish with the last story and then kind of tie it all together. Pavarotti was coming to town and he was going to play at Pebble Beach. They had this grand tent and he was going to play there. The Monterey County Symphony was going to be his background music. And so I asked around, I said, we got to go see this and hear this. So that night we arrived, we sat down, and out comes the orchestra. And lo and behold, who's in the middle of the orchestra to play with for Pavarotti was Mike Morata. He sat down, and we couldn't believe the start. Yeah, we could believe it, knowing Mike. And so what happens is the band parts, the orchestra starts, and Mike is part of playing for Pavarotti. There's so many other stories that I have here, and I won't take that time. But between Pavarotti and the State Theater, and in between the Festa Italia, and so many of those things that he was part of. And then I got to tell this one story because we have a 4th of July Grand Marshal. And so Mike was asked to be the Grand Marshal of this parade. And of all the Grand Marshals, let me tell you, he was the best. He couldn't bring his accordion, but he had some damn thing. It was a little clicker thing. So he was making music to it as he was going down Alvarado Street. It's about 10,000 people there. And they weren't hollering for the mayor, but they were sure as hell hollering for Mike, the accordion player. And I'm not making that story up. That is absolutely a true story. So my concluding remarks, I'd like to say, let's remember a Monterey icon, the mayor of Alvarado Street, Mike Morata, with this beautiful art piece. It'll be a great thing for Monterey. It'll be a great thing for the entire peninsula. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone on the commission subcommittee want to make any comments? Okay. How about Stephen? Would you like to make any comments about the artwork?
Just really that it's going to be a very fun piece for the town and for the street there. It's going to be something that people are going to want to sit with and take their photographs with. It's going to be a very happy, jolly remembrance, and I think it's going to enhance the street without any doubt. And I will be building it at my studio in the Carmel Barnyard, and that's open to the public, so anybody can come and see it in progress as well.
Right.
Thank
So
you,
I
sir.
had one question, Stephen. After the city council approval, when is it likely that it would be installed?
We're probably looking at about 5 to 6 months after we get the full go ahead and we get to start. I'm not expecting to start any other projects between now and the next few months, so that's definitely a doable time frame.
All right,
And
thank
I
you.
know the committee wanted to make a nice big event of it as well, so they've got to probably take some time to arrange that.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners?
I have one. What is the material of the statue going to be?
It's going to be cast bronze, like all the figures on the Cannery Row monument.
Yeah.
And the bench is going to be, I believe, a solid, smooth concrete block. So it's, safe and vandal-proof. And just standard materials that we use for all these installations. I have something like 58 life-size and larger bronze figures around the world, and it's they're safe and can stand the test of time.
Yes. Thank you.
Inga, did you have something to add?
Yes, so actually, Stephen, you answered one of my questions
which was the material for the bench. How is it going to be attached? How do you attach a sculpture like that to the base, which is a cement?
Yeah, there are stainless steel big bolts in the figure. In this case, there'll be two under his, thighs, and then one or two on his whatever touches the ground. There'll be a template. Once the bench is in place, the template is put on. The holes are drilled in to the concrete and the floor, and then they are literally just glued on. I've got a piece going in this week in South Carolina, and that's a stand-in figure, and that's the same way. And then I've got a massive head of President Carter being unveiled at the Carter Museum that's going in the same way. That's the way it's done.
Thank
And
you.
they're
And
very
then-
safe. And sorry.
Okay, go ahead. Finish what you were saying, and then I'll ask you my other
I'm saying that is, a very permanent way of attaching them. So I don't have any worries with that.
My other question was in describing it, I said life size, but then I thought, well, sometimes artists do make things larger than life so I was wondering, is it accurate to say a little larger, or is it life size?
This will be, I believe he was 5'1" or 5'2".
Mhm.
And he's probably going to be about 5'6" or 5'7". So, I mean, slightly over, but it would just be, pretty much life size, it looked like. You don't want to make them too much larger when they're at ground level like this, because they end up looking just like Andre the Giant. Is it life size? Is it larger? Was this guy actually 6'6" and 400 pounds? So I think this will be nice, and it fits in with the style of it being a happy pieces that people want to be sat next to it.
Great. And then this might not be a question for you, might be for other members of the group, but some measurements were made, and you were confident. Our subcommittee did some measuring, but you also made some measurements, and you're confident that it fits in the space identified.
Yes, we went down and drew it out on the pavement, and it gives a bench big enough for a couple of people to sit with it.
Mhm.
And it's it fits into the and he's going to be facing towards the coffee shop, so when people take a picture they get the whole sort of crossroads there, and it's a nice image for people to represent Monterey with.
Thank you.
Well, we're asked to approve this proposal. So before we go to public comment, I want to see if any other commissioners have comments. Kimberly.
I just have a question.
Yes.
We were curious about directly behind the figure and the end of the bench. How much space is there? Is there space for someone to sort of back into him, or is he right up? Hard to tell.
I believe there's some bollards, some traffic, bollards behind him. So there'll be room to stand between them and the bench. And then there's a electricity box or something to the right as you're looking at him face forward. And I think there'll be at least 18 inches to 2 feet from that. And then it's about.
Can someone sit on is there enough space behind, like his back to the edge? Is there enough space to sit back to back with him, or?
I don't think so. I think we looked at I think it's a 24 inch bench from front to back, and he was a portly gentleman, shall we say. So they're probably about 6 inches behind him, just enough to have some space around him. But there will definitely be able to room for probably two people to sit on the his left-hand side.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Do we have any of the public watching? Do we know anyone from the public have any questions or comments?
I'll go ahead and share the phone number. We do encourage members of the public to join our meeting via Zoom Gov, a secure service for use by government agencies. You will be connected live in real time to the meeting. This meeting is also streamed live on youtube.com/City of Monterey with an approximate 10-second delay, and on Comcast channel 25 with an approximate 90-second delay. If you plan to make a public comment, please join the meeting using Zoom or by telephone and ensure you join in time to accommodate the delay. To join the meeting on Zoom, use the link or phone number on the Museums and Cultural Arts Commission agenda at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, dial toll-free 833-568-8864. Enter meeting ID 1602530862. If prompted to enter a participant ID, press pound. Detailed instructions on using Zoom are available at monterey.org/public meetings. To make a public comment, please raise your hand using Zoom, or if you are connected by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. So again, those phone numbers are 833-568-8864 or 669-254-5252. Enter meeting ID 1602530862. Chair O'Neill, there are no public callers at this time.
Thank you very much. So we'll come back to commission comments and questions. Any other before we proceed? Okay. Do we have? Yes.
I
Bill.
move approval. Oh, I was just gonna say, I move approval.
Thank you.
I'll second, since I'm here.
Don? Yeah. Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Chair O'Neill, I do still need to do the verbal roll call.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. Commissioner Castagna,
yes,
Commissioner Evans,
yes,
Commissioner Peak,
Present, sorry.
Commissioner Sovereign,
Yes.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wachowski,
Yes.
and Chair O'Neill.
Yes,
Thank you.
All
thank
right,
you very,
I should have said aye, sorry, or yes. Sorry.
So
You're present.
my understanding is the next step is for this commission to get on the agenda with the city council to make this recommendation to them. And then once we know the date and time, it would be wonderful if some of the members of the tribute group could join us as well, so that you can take any questions from the larger audience that would be attending a council meeting.
thank you.
The council members.
I'll give our guests one last chance if they'd like to make any final comments.
If I may say something, I think you can all envision, if this is approved by the council, what a magnificent day of celebration we can have for Monterey on Alvarado Street when we christen the installation. You can imagine the Monterey High School marching band and all kinds of fun, really truly Monterey-esque celebrations and feelings that will be shared in bringing all that life to Alvarado Street, and especially post-COVID, hopefully bringing so much more life and amusement with that fabulous statue. We really want to thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you. I would like to thank each of you. Kathleen?
I want to say it's just very attractive and warm and inviting, and I appreciate you all doing it. And it will be very nice for Monterey and Stephen White. It's very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you all. This is probably the most august group of visitors we've had at our little commission meetings. And certainly the most entertaining, Mayor Albert.
There are a lot more stories, John, but I just I thought my time was limited. You would have been laughing. Well, I think so.
Oh, yeah,
Who knows?
right. So maybe David can work you into the agenda for the
No.
unveiling.
No, I'm not asking for that.
I think we could probably collect stories on our
Yeah.
website once we announce, if it goes forward, and we could announce that it's being worked on. We could ask people to write in or call in and share their stories, their Mike Morata senior stories.
Okay. Well, David, Dan, Chris, and Stephen, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
Now
you.
we're going to go on to the less exciting part of the agenda. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. For
Thank
your
you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
So where are we now? Time to approve the minutes of our previous meeting. That was meeting on November 23rd, 2020. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay. Can we have a motion to approve, please?
Move approval.
Thank you,
Second.
Bob. And thank you, Bill, for second. Francesca, is there any discussion? Would you mind taking the roll then?
Thank you. Commissioner Castagna,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Peak.
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Okay, Commissioner Sovereign,
Aye.
Commissioner Wall. I see you saying yes, although your microphone is.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Wilkowski,
Yes.
thank you. And Chair O'Neill,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Minutes are approved. So we can go on to public comment on subjects not on our agenda. If anyone from the public would like to make a comment at this time.
Yes, so for anyone who would like to make a public comment, please raise your Zoom hand. Or if you are connected by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. And when called upon, dial *6 to unmute yourself. The toll-free phone number is 833-568-8864. Enter meeting ID number 160-253-0862. If prompted to enter a participant ID, press pound. Detailed instructions on using Zoom are available at monterey.org/public meetings. There are no public callers at this time.
Thank you, Francesca. Move on then to receive the Museums and Cultural Arts Division Activity Report for December 2020. Inga, would you please lead us?
Sure. So I have a number of, so this is under the heading Informational Reports and Staff Comments. So I have a number of things that I wanted to share with you that didn't make it into the report. And I'm happy to save those until we've gone through the report, or I'm happy to kick it off with some comments. What's your pleasure?
Staff comments,
Yes. Okay.
whatever you'd like to do.
All right, I'll start off with the staff comments, then we can walk through the report. So I wanted to point out, you did receive an email, and I believe John attended, that Bill Wachowski and I gave a tour or coordinated a tour for the San Francisco Tour Guide Guild of the Lower Presidio Historic Park. So that was a great opportunity because here is this group of tour guides who are wanting to learn more about Monterey and reached out to us, and we were able to bring in Tim Thomas, the historian, the fisheries historian, and he gave a very full PowerPoint presentation about the historic park. And we were able to answer questions that, yes, there's plenty of space for buses, and that it's open even due to COVID. There's plenty of space for people to self-distance. So anyway, so I think it was a great promotional opportunity. And then I also wanted to mention, of course, we all know that Pat Hathaway passed away earlier this month, which was unexpected and very sad. And then there's the question of his photographic collection. And, you know, it was a massive collection of images that so many historians, researchers, businesses, folks have used all around the world to help learn about and promote Monterey. So there's the question of what's going to happen with that collection. And from all the different people that I've talked to that know him, that knew Pat, it doesn't seem yet that an estate plan has surfaced. And so at this point, what I've done is I've tried to put the word out there that the city of Monterey, in fact, Hans Uslar called me about it, is very interested in that collection. We want it to remain accessible. And that's my number one concern, is just access to the collection. It, you know, if it goes to a institution that is set up to do a processing of all the photographs and everything, you know, that would be fine. But as long as the material remains accessible, you know, we're concerned that, you know, if it goes into private hands and private collectors, then it might not be as available as it's been before. And then, of course, there's the loss of all his knowledge about the photographs, which, you know, that there's no way of recovering that. But we're hoping that the images stay in the area. And I reached out to the library director in Carmel, because at one point Pat had talked to first our library about maybe putting the collection with us, and then he talked to the librarian in Carmel, and also reached out to the librarian in Pacific Grove. So we just want it to stay available if at all possible. And I do think if there was the opportunity to keep it in the area, that it would be a kind of a project that people would want to donate funds to help keep it in the area. So if anybody approaches you and says, what's going to happen with Pat Hathaway's collection? Well, you can say, well, I know that they're very interested in keeping it in Monterey. So people have said that he spoke with the Bancroft, and also another person suggested that it should go to the Huntington Library. And both of those are fabulous institutions, but it would take the collection away from, you know, Monterey. And those, the bulk of the photographs really are telling our story, telling our region's history. So that's the Pat Hathaway collection. Then I wanted to mention something that John brought up over the weekend, and I have to apologize. He wondered, well, where's the annual rotation on the agenda, the rotation of chair and vice chair?
Not that I was anxious about this.
And so I thought, well, gosh, I'm confused, because the library board always does this transition with the fiscal year. So I looked, and first I looked at past minutes, and yeah, it seems like this commission is always rotated at the January meeting. But then I looked at the city code, and sure enough, in 2019, the city council approved a change to the city code so that now boards and commissions chair rotation takes place with the fiscal year, which means July. So that puts the chair in an awkward position of either the new chair serves for a short amount of time, or the current existing chair has to serve a longer period in order to get us to the fiscal year, to July. So then also the question came up about the rotation schedule. So I'll leave you pondering how we're going to handle this while I tell you about the rotation schedule. So it's, as you probably all know, because I believe you've all taken your turn, you have, whoever is on the commission who has served the longest without being chair is next up. And so, of course, we know Bill was already the vice chair, and he last served as chair in 2013. After him, it's Bob Evans, who last served in 2015. If the if the chart from last year is accurate. And then after Bob, it's Mike, who last served as chair in 2016. So Bill suggested, and we can agendize this, but Bill suggested that he would take over with the fiscal year, and John has graciously said he would continue until, through June is our plan at this point.
I'm sorry for all of the members.
No, you're doing a
Thank
great
you very
job.
much. That's great.
And while we can't take action on it today, I did want to share it under informational reports so that you would know, in case you noticed that there hadn't been a rotation, that was our plan. And then finally, I have some rather good news to share, I hope, about the pedestrian access study to the Lower Presidio Historic Park. So this commission had a presentation by Jeff Krebs in February of 2019. And unfortunately, I wasn't there, but maybe some of you remember what it was that he shared. The study was commissioned, it was funded by the NCIP, and it was a study to look at pedestrian access to the Lower Presidio Historic Park. So I've been put in contact with one of the senior engineers, and he said, oh, well, it wasn't defunded. However, most of the funds were spent. So that indicates to me they were spent on the project. So that gives me hope that the papers that are associated with the project, or the charts or the drawings or the study, will be located. So now they're working with me on locating those papers. So that was it for my impromptu remarks. And now I think to take us through this great activity report, I think I will turn it over to our artifact specialist, because as you read through it, you'll see the bulk of the work was done by Jordan. So Jordan, if you would take over and walk us through the highlights.
Alrighty, hello everyone. So since the last meeting, let's see. The last meeting we talked about doing a Colton Hall virtual tour, and after that meeting, we had another meeting about it. And so we are hopefully next month, we will start prepping with Eric Palmer with the city about setting up shooting a virtual tour of Colton Hall. And so I have been working on my end on just getting as much history and information as possible and sharing it with Eric and Inga and Nat so that we can get that as tightly knit as possible so that we could just go in there and shoot the film and get it on YouTube as fast as possible. And we hope to at least do one long tour so that you can have the whole thing, and then try to break it up into bits so that you can watch little bits and not lose that attention span that sometimes people cannot watch a whole, depending if it's a 15-minute video to a 90-minute video. I honestly don't know how long it'll be, but I'd imagine it would probably be 15 to 30 minutes long. It's not a very large museum, as we all know. But so that is underway. Hopefully, I need to get in contact with Eric and see how we're doing with planning on that. And then I've also, continuing with Colton Hall, in the past, I've been trying to get it, I got the hall set up in case that we do open, and who knows, this year is looking promising with vaccines and things that maybe we'll get to open sooner than planned. But in general, the museum is ready to go. And then I also started working on a Colton Hall Museum attendance manual because we do not have one. And I do not know if our museum attendants will return once we reopen. So with me being the only person here, a manual would be very helpful for them, and that they don't have to keep coming with questions, I want them to be fully prepared for opening up. Let's see. And then another great thing that happened with us was, cannot find the date. Here we go. December 1st, the Monterey Pacific Rotary contacted us about decorating Colton Hall. They help us out every year for doing that. And this year I just assumed with the pandemic that it was not going to happen. And Inge and I were both very happy that they contacted us, and they came out and did their usual decorating, made it look great. So we are very grateful to the Monterey Pacific Rotary for helping out with us. That was a wonderful thing. It was nice to have that joy during a pandemic when, it was sad to not have Christmas in the Adobes and have the Christmas tree in Colton Hall and have that smell of that fir tree every time you walk in. So we were very grateful that they were able to help us with that. And similar to that, Christmas at the Adobes, we usually sell a lot of the Monterey Angels cards and ornaments and other merchandise. And so we actually had people asking us in the city manager's office if we're actually selling these items. And so what I was able to do was set up a little table out front of the Gordon house, and we sold the angel cards and the ornaments, and basically just did this through Facebook and Instagram. And we ended up selling $208 worth of merchandise, which is probably not as much as we would at Christmas in the Adobes, but it's better than it just sitting in Colton Hall Museum. So I was very happy with that. And I'm hoping to maybe in the future do random sales of our books or other items that we can continue to kind of get some funds in. And I'm working on multiple projects right now. I'm just kind of bouncing around. And so one of them is putting together a proposal for a Buffalo Soldiers exhibit at the Presidio Monterey Museum. It is a very important part of Monterey's history, especially with the Presidio, and it is not on display other than on one little, board on the pathway up to the Sloat Monument. And so we would like to honor them more. And this was something Dennis and I started probably back at the end of 2019, and I was working on it up until the pandemic hit. And so I made some great connections with researching this project. There's a national parks ranger in Yosemite who has a full uniform, and he dresses up and gives lectures, and got a lot of information from him, which was very nice. And we have people offering to donate items because we have to do this all from scratch. We don't have anything. We don't have the mannequin. We don't have the uniforms. We do have some photos of the soldiers in Monterey and Pacific Grove. And so that is a project that I am very excited for and hope that we can make this happen in the coming year. And for me, that is the most exciting project I've been working on. Otherwise, I have finally had the time to dive into our collections. And so I started working on the Presidio Monterey collection, just with processing what do we have, where is it? And with that, I discovered that a lot of our donor files of, the people send us things and we have the letters have not been scanned and preserved digitally. So I am currently working on doing that because those files are down in the vault and I'm up in the office and I can't access them. And so by digitizing them, it's one, preserving them, and two, I can access them from any computer terminal within the city, making it more efficient. And that is pretty much all the big stuff I've been doing. There's not a lot in the report, but the projects I'm actually working on are actually taking a lot of time. So that's what I have for you.
Thank you, Jordan. And then one other thing I wanted to highlight in the report is the McComas exhibit. We're really excited about featuring two of our really wonderful Francis McComas paintings in the retrospective exhibit that opened on January 21st at the Monterey Museum of Art. And that reminds me, there's a typo in your packet. So it opened the exhibit. This is a sentence right above the little images of the two paintings. The exhibit opens January 21st and it will run through. There is a 1 missing at the end of that sentence, April 4th, 2021. And since there hasn't been a retrospective of his work since 1939, it was really great to be able to lend both of these pieces. And because we're closed, we didn't have to arrange, the museum had offered to loan us some pieces to take the place of these works, but we aren't having council meetings in council chambers, so we didn't need to replace that one. And in the library, we didn't need to try to rehang something where the Toledo Bridge was. So,
Any questions?
Yeah, I had a question and a comment for Jordan. First, I'm very happy that you're doing the Buffalo Soldiers. The Old Monterey Foundation actually brought some speakers of all the places from Los Baños, and they have a Buffalo Soldier committee there. I don't know if it was because it was halfway between Monterey and Yosemite or whatever. So I will get you those names, Jordan. The other comment is that put aside COVID, the Presidio Museum is only open 3 or 4 days a week. And I wondered sometime in the future if you and Inga and others could think of, could there be some outdoor exhibits? The Old Monterey Foundation put up the 4-sided kiosk, and that explains a lot of the history of the Presidio. And I think there's a cannon outside, but just sort of like the Pacific House and the Old Maritime Museum, if we can have some more outdoor exhibits, because people come at very irregular hours to visit Lower Presidio. But thank you so much for doing the Buffalo Soldier exhibit.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I'm happy to.
I had a comment also for Jordan. When we were going to have a 2020, 250th anniversary event, the contact was made with some Buffalo Soldier groups who were going to participate. And the gal who was putting together that program, Harriet Lynn, has those contacts if you wanted to get a hold of. Some of those were more local, but not right here. But I think Selena's, there were some individuals involved and so forth.
good to know,
yes.
Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've actually been in contact with Harriet, and so yeah, they were going to come out and do an encampment for like we usually do with the Presidio. Usually now it's just because of scheduling has been the weekend before History Fest, but Harriet got me in contact, I believe, with the park ranger in Yosemite, if I'm correct. But yeah, I do have her contact information, and we would love to have them come out for History Fest.
That raises the question, will we want to do a delayed 250th celebration at some point, or does anybody have a feel for what the city is planning for when reopening of Monterey occurs? Now, the Mike Marietta thing is great. That would be, but something with more historical connection might be good. The Monterey mural, maybe we could put in somehow.
So that's a good question, Mike. What I know is the city is really struggling financially. So we'll learn more at the February council meeting, but there's an additional shortfall, I believe, of $3.75 million. So I don't know that there'll be, unless there's fundraising for it, that there'll be the funds for the celebration of the size that had been planned.
Well, a natural celebration would be the Merienda. You know, one time we were talking about the Merienda being extended over the weekend. It's usually the first Saturday in July. And we were talking about fireworks, and that can almost be done by the nonprofit and the private sector without the city. I have not heard though, the Merienda is going to go ahead in June, or if they're going to kick that over a year or do it in the fall or whatever.
And I think we're probably getting into the place where we would need to agendize some of this discussion.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I know from what I'm able to do, because it wouldn't cost anything, it would be if when History Fest comes back and if we get the Monterey Peninsula Archives crawl running up again, my display for that can be Monterey 250 dedicated. So, I mean, it may be, who knows if it's going to happen this year, so it may be 252 technically, but it's just all dependent of what's going to happen.
Well, there was one other thing in the packet that.
Before you go on, do we want to agendize that discussion, that item for further discussion at another board meeting?
Sure. I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
So that would be Monterey 250.
Yeah.
And was there a committee of this body that had worked on that wants to continue to?
I don't remember one. I remember we made the comment that we weren't told what was going on. I don't think we had anybody working on it.
Some of us.
Well, I was working on that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
Yeah, I was
with Harriet Lynn, who the city, hired to do it. And there were various proposals, but we never got very far. And then, of course, it all died.
Yeah, I've been following the sculpture and mural activities with the 250 larger committee.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe Mike and Bob, do you want to be part of a subcommittee to?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
You're smooth, Inga.
Okay, and then I did want to mention, because we were talking about, would there be a history fest and so forth. Also in the activity report, we mentioned Cannery Row days and how that turned from a one-day event down on Cannery Row itself to a series of events that extended over a month and a half. And that was extremely successful, largely due to Francesca's skills with Zoom, because we had a committee of folks who had a lot of great ideas, but we needed somebody who was actually going to be able to set up all those virtual presentations, and Francesca was able to do that. We had over 300 people participate in this series, if you count up all the people that attended the 9 different live events that we had. So that's an option for planning things like History Fest, is planning a way to do one virtually, but I'm not volunteering Francesca for that. That's not what I meant, but I did mean that we can think about how to do programs virtually, a series virtually, a celebrations virtually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There are 2 flyers in this packet. Can someone speak to those?
Sure. So the same group that planned Cannery Row had so much fun. They're like, what's next? And so we're going to do the second annual History Slam. So that's something that Dennis had worked on with this group previously. And there's a teen version. And for that, the person who designed the flyer used a sort of a comic book outline. And then there's an adult version, which has a lot of historic images and manuscripts and so forth in the background. And the idea with the History Slam is it's a friendly competition. So you submit your proposal in advance, and then you get a yay or nay. And if you get a yay, then you can work up whatever your presentation is. It's only 10 or 15 minutes long, and it your presentation, and then it runs from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So it's a slam in the sense of one after another. People go up to the mic, but of course it's not a live event, it's all virtual. So they turn on their camera and then they present, whether it's a talk, slideshow, a song. I guess they did have musical compositions submitted before. So there's one on the 10th, and then students are encouraged to do a slam, and that is going to be on April 24th. And that is being coordinated with the folks who help run History Day, which is a local competition that turns into a statewide competition that then has a national component to it.
Thank you.
Yes, and the flyers are going to need, or just the adult one, is going to need to be replaced. Did anybody catch the typo?
Yes, I did, of course.
Thank you.
It's my specialty.
Oh, good. I'm going to add you to my list of proofreaders. So Cannery in Cannery Row Company is spelled creatively.
You almost made it canary.
Yes.
This says that it's sponsored by the library and museums. So do we need to take any action?
So other than that, about it. And I would say once we have a better flyer, it would be great if you can push it out to your circle of history acquaintances, and
All right.
you'll be encouraged to participate the day of by being a member of the audience, or if you want to give a talk, you could be a presenter as well.
One other little comment again. Second line from the bottom on that flyer. The word mediast kind of seems a little jarring. I don't know if that is somebody's favorite word, but
That was committee members wanted that word on there. I think it was intended to be jarring to grab people's attention.
yeah, I would rethink that, but
I'm still stuck on Canary. There's a Canary Wharf in London. So we got Cannery Row, which we know is like a wharf area. So it really didn't, maybe there's something to it. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
So are there any public comments?
Nope.
We do encourage members of the public to join our meeting via Zoom Gov, a secure service for use by government agencies. You'll be connected live in real time to the meeting. To make a public comment, raise your hand using Zoom, or to join by telephone, please dial toll-free 833-568-8864. Enter meeting ID number 160-253-0862. If prompted to enter a participant ID, press pound. We do encourage you to join the meeting on Zoom so that you are connected in real time. There are no public callers right now. Thank you, Chair O'Neill.
Thank you, Francesca. So unless there's anything else, we can go to commissioner comments.
Gesundheit.
Yes.
That's my comment.
Oh, okay. So on my screen, Bill's on the top. So do you have any comments, Bill?
No comments.
Bob?
Nope.
Thank you. Amber?
Just that I will push that youth flyer out to my history students, but I'm not guaranteeing that anyone will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathleen?
No, but I guess I just have to comment again. I'm pleased about the sculpture that's going to go to downtown Monterey, and working on it this time was a lot easier than when we worked on the sculpture that the group wanted to put in front of the firehouse with the dangling arm. I was hoping we didn't have to go through something like that again. I'm wondering where that is these days. Does anybody know?
No, but I could try to find out for you.
I think it's in that stack of documents in the vault that Jordan said were locked away.
Good place for it.
Yes,
Thank you. No.
yes, thank you. Don? Do you have any comments?
Me, no.
Thank you. Mike, do you have any comments, sir?
Yes, I can't shut up. Last week or last meeting we had, whenever that was, Bill pointed out that the stables at the Lower Presidio Historic Park were no longer there. And I went by and they did a beautiful job. And according to the rumor, in one day, we'd heard it was going to be this terrible task. And I think if there's a way for us to compliment whoever in the city pulled that off, because it seems to have cost no one anything and was a great job, we ought to thank them. But I don't know who that would be.
That would be Steve Wittry. I will convey your deep appreciation to Mr. Wittry. So he had the brilliant idea of scheduling it when all of the things that have to be approved and so forth had already been done because of the paving project. So they had, the archaeologists on hand and the hazmat people and all the different folks, that team you need whenever you're touching buildings that are historic and also have potential asbestos. So it was a great idea. I know there was a cost to it, but it wasn't the same as starting from scratch.
Good.
Thank you. I'd like to applaud the staff. There's just 3 of you I see here and a lot of activity going on. So I'm impressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And my final comment is I notice every once in a while that there are activities, issues, whatever, in the city that really affect more than one commission. And often there's no cross-pollination that goes to one commission and the other one's not involved at all. I think the one we're closest to probably would be historic preservation because they do historic kinds of things. I happen to know someone very close to me. So every once in a while I learn one of these things, but I think there should be some formal way that if one commission is considering an item on their agenda that really the other should have some input to, we should be able to make that happen. And I think that may be a systemic problem, not a problem just with our commission, but I imagine that might happen elsewhere.
It's interesting that the city council recently discussed how important it is to tell Monterey's story from multiple viewpoints and make sure that those people who have, been oppressed in the past, historically haven't had a voice, make sure those people have their story told. And so they tasked that to the Historic Preservation Commission. And Nat luckily said, wait, I think actually telling Monterey's story is more appropriately something that that this commission is involved with, but nevertheless, it got stuck and it was sent to historic preservation. So that
Okay,
might be something where we could
start.
encourage them to have some sort of cross pollination with us,
Yeah.
working on that.
Yeah, good idea. Okay. Well, thank you. Unless we have anything else, I think we can adjourn. Thank you all very much.
Really good.